Hey guys, so I just watched Venom and I decided that I really wanted to make Carnage. And so I made his little tendrils and stuff looking all menacing. But for this week, I think I'm going to show you guys how to make Venom because he's a lot simpler and he's just cuter. For this one, we use black and blue and we mix the colors together to get the main body color. It's important to not mix these colors all the way. And then the reason that I used the blue was that in the comics, like the cartoons and stuff, like he always has like the shading, the way that they shade Venom, it's always kind of like a dark blue color. And I thought that like having swirls of that in there would look really cool. And then also if I mixed it all the way, it really wouldn't look like it had color at all. It would just be like a pale black. But anyways, I started off by making these tendril things, and Erdo is perfect for making these weird little nebulous shapes because it kind of retains it. And even when it dries, it looks really neat, like special effects. So I made a couple of these, and we're gonna let these guys dry up here for a little bit and just kind of shape them however you feel like it, whatever shape comes to you naturally. And make them pretty thin and just let them chill there. The first thing we're gonna do after that is to make his body shape. Depending on how like thin or chunky you want to make him, like that's gonna tell you what size to make it. I made this like a teardrop, and then I made little nooks for his feet, and now I'm gonna make his feet. And I'm gonna make like cylinder shapes first. Make sure they're even though. And that looks like a good size. So I didn't want him just standing like neutral. So I kind of tried to pose him like at an angle. And then I grabbed this little tool and kind of started carving in there some like feet shapes so that there's more dimension to it. So he's gonna be like in the cool little stance. Alright, set that aside. And then next we're gonna do the arms. So they're kind of the same shape. They start off as the same shape as the legs. So we're gonna make two balls about the same size. And since he's like a symbiote or whatever, like the shape doesn't really matter too much because you know his body can just kind of transform into whatever. So now that I got the arms at a good size, I'm gonna make fingers. And the fingers are pretty cool to make. You just make little sausages and then kind of sharpen them out at the end. So right now we're gonna roll out the dough and try to get the fingers somewhat even. You know, if I wanted to be exact, I could make like pinky finger, the ring finger, the middle finger and all that, but just do your best, do whatever you can. It's cool. And again, he's an alien creature, so, you know, he's not perfect. Okay, so now we got 5 fingers for each hand. That one needs to be a little bit bigger. Cool. So now we're just gonna roll them up and then sharpen them a little bit so that they're a little bit more scary. And then we're just gonna stick them into the hand. And then this is your chance to kind of pose the fingers however you want. You know, if you want to be like gripping something or like clenching his fist or whatever, just, you know, do what comes to mind. I wanted all the fingers to kind of have a different movement. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. And then we're gonna have to leave these arms out to dry for a little bit too, and just not mess with them so that they can hold whatever shape we want. So we're gonna leave these, curve the ends a little bit so that they fit, and then we're just gonna leave them alone. I said leave them alone. Okay, now we're gonna make the head. So you're just gonna sculpt like a weird potato shape, you know, it's my favorite shape. And then we're just gonna carve in a cute little smile. Ginormous smile. Venom's head is like 90% his mouth, so, you know, go crazy. And then just jam your finger in there and start carving out and molding. And I still want this to go up higher a little bit. All right. Kind of snaky looking. Looks about right. So now we're going to grab red and white. The red we're going to use for the inside of his mouth. So we're going to make these little half moon shapes. And then flatten them out a little bit. And then just shove them in there. Cool. And then press them in there, and then you can keep shaping the mouth if it's not to your liking yet. That's what I'm doing right now. Cool. And then we're gonna do the top part. His mouth is gonna be open pretty wide, so you're gonna want to cover most of the black inside so that there's no little bits peeking through. And then we're just tucking all this stuff in. Use your tools, use your fingers, whatever you need. That looks fine to me. And now my favorite part, yay, we're gonna do teeth, and these teeth are very tedious. They're very small. So that's about a good size. So just do a bunch. I don't know, I was aiming for 20, but then my fingers got tired, so. It's a lot easier if you pre-roll these and just let them dry for a little bit. So we're just gonna push these aside for now. And then we're gonna make the tongue right now. We'll get back to the teeth in a bit. So just mix some red and white to make like a pinkish color. And then this is a really good chance to kind of just go crazy with the tongue. Make like a long tongue shape thing. You're gonna cut the line in the middle and then just kind of shape it, twist it all menacing and gross, and you know how Venom is. I'm happy with that, so we're gonna leave that alone for a little bit. Next we're gonna do the eyes. So you're gonna start off by doing these like oval shapes, kind of like diamond oval looking shape things. Make sure they're pretty even. What I started doing was, once I flattened it out a little bit, I just kind of twisted little pieces so that it kind of was a little bit more scary, not as neat. I think that looks about right. All right. And then just put them on the face. That looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna do the other one. Alright, and then just kind of smooth them out and adjust the shape even more if you need to. So we're gonna bring back the teeth. Again, if you leave these out to dry, they're a lot easier to work with when you're sticking them into his face. Make sure you make little holes for the teeth to go into. It's a little tedious. Tweezers might help, but no, I didn't think that far ahead. So it's gonna start taking shape. It's gonna look more like Venom soon, I promise. So we're just gonna keep doing this poking hole methods and sticking the teeth in. So it helps when they're hard because you're not squishing the teeth as you're jamming them into his mouth. Another way that helps too is if you, as you're making the hole, you kind of dip the tool in water so that the air dough will have something to stick to. Air dough loves water. So the top is more or less done. So now we're doing the bottom teeth. Cool. So I had a lot of trouble with these. Some teeth kept falling off because my fingers were just too big and just knocking them all over the place. So good luck to you guys. You're gonna need some patience, but it'll pay off, I promise. All right, just a couple more teeth and I think we'll be good. All right. And now for the tongue. So dip the tool, kind of jab the back of his throat a little bit. And then just stick the tongue in. I use the tool again to kind of really dive the tongue into his throat, as weird as that sounds. And there you go, looking all creepy. So now we're gonna stick the head in. So I made a little notch for it to go, and wet the arms a little bit so that they'll attach. All right, I like that pose. All right, so now we're gonna need to do his little logo emblem thing, the little spider in the center of his chest. So we're gonna do like a oval shape. And this arm kept falling, so I just ripped it off. You know what? I'm just ripping everything off because it's a lot easier to work without any limbs. And now we're doing the head on this little arachnid. So slap that on there. And then kind of shape it how you want. So again, I'm using my nail to flatten that out. And then we're gonna take a big piece of white and just make a long rope. And then I'm just gonna chop it up into 8 pieces for the legs. So this part's a little tricky. You're gonna wanna make almost like an M. And then you can use a knife tool to, chop off the rest. And just be careful because it's really easy to kind of squeeze the body or, I don't know, misshape his legs or something. Again, the knife, any tools are going to be your best friends in this part because it's impossible to just use your fingers. All right, so now we got 4 on one side. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. This is a little bigger than I had hoped it would be, but that's fine. All right, so now we got all the legs. I'm realizing that the middle section is a little weird looking, so I'm gonna slap another little oval on top, and that looks a little bit better. So now we're just gonna attach everything again. Sorry, Venom, for taking you apart. Okay, so one arm is reaching out for you and the other one's resting. And cool, his head's on there. Now, the fun part. These should be dry by now, so they'll be easy to attach. And they're light enough that they'll hold their shape. They're not gonna fall off. So dip them a little bit in water, not too much, because you don't want them slipping all over the place. And just kind of put them wherever you want, and they'll just kind of be floating around. All right, and the little tendril things are done. We're good to go. So that's Venom from Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Remember, we do this every Friday, so don't forget to subscribe and let us know in the comments what you want to see me build next week. Thanks for watching.